All right, so let's jump right in and take this deep dive into the future of leadership.
Okay.
I think this is going to be a really interesting one.
Yeah.
You know, we've got some great sources to pull from.
Absolutely.
And just thinking about how much the world has changed, even in just the past few years.
Right.
It's just incredible to think about what leadership could even look like down the road.
Yeah, no kidding. And I think that image of like the CEO in a corner office
Right.
calling all the shots, like that might be going the way of the dinosaurs, you know?
Yeah.
It's just not how things work anymore.
Especially with, all these new factors popping up like AI.
Yeah.
Obviously, remote work is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then even the rise of like social media influencers. I mean,
It's wild, right?
it's kind of crazy to think about how that all plays into leadership.
It's really changing the game. What's fascinating to me is it's not necessarily about like getting rid of CEOs altogether.
Right.
It's more about like a fundamental shift in what leadership even means.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just about who's in charge anymore, right?
Exactly.
It's about how they lead.
Exactly. And one of the big things we're seeing is this move away from that old command and control style of leadership.
Oh, yeah.
Where, the CEO is like the dictator at the top making all the decisions.
Right. Doesn't really fly these days, does it?
No, not really. I mean, people want to be part of the process.
Yeah.
They want to feel like their voices are heard. They want to,
Valued.
Yeah, exactly. Be valued and have some autonomy. They don't want to just be told what to do all the time.
Yeah, and I feel like that old style, it just kind of kills creativity too.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. It stifles innovation. It leads to people feeling disengaged,
Yeah.
and ultimately it just doesn't work as well in today's world. So instead,
So it's more about collaboration then.
yeah, much more about collaboration.
Okay.
Leaders are becoming more like facilitators rather than dictators.
Facilitators. Interesting.
Yeah, they're there to guide and support their teams, but they're also empowering them to take ownership and contribute their own ideas.
So like a good example of that would be someone like Satya Nadella over at Microsoft. Right?
Yeah, he's a great
I
example.
mean, he's really turned things around over there. And a lot of it has to do with
Yeah.
how he leads, right?
Absolutely. He's all about empowering employees,
Right.
fostering collaboration, and valuing diverse perspectives.
And then you have someone like Elon Musk, who's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, he's definitely more of the traditional hands-on type of leader.
Right.
And, both styles have their pros and cons, I think.
Sure.
But the key takeaway here is that effective leadership is evolving. You can't just stick to the old playbook anymore.
It's true. And speaking of evolving leadership,
Yeah,
we can't ignore the elephant in the room.
AI.
AI.
Exactly.
I mean, it's already making major decisions in some companies.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you've got JP Morgan using it for risk analysis, Netflix using it for content decisions.
Right.
And I mean, it's only going to get more prevalent, right?
Oh, absolutely. AI is just getting started.
But then that brings up the question, like, if AI can do parts of a CEO's job better,
Yeah.
do we even need human CEOs anymore?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
And it's a tough one because AI is amazing at certain things, like
Data.
data analysis, decision-making based on huge amounts of data.
Yeah, it can see patterns that we can't,
Exactly. But leadership isn't just about crunching numbers.
right? There's more to it than that.
So much more. There's the emotional intelligence, the vision, the ability to inspire,
Right.
the crisis management skills, things that AI just hasn't quite mastered yet.
And, at the end of the day, who are people going to trust and follow?
More. Yeah.
A cold, calculating algorithm
Yeah.
or a human leader who can connect with them on an emotional level?
Exactly. I think that human element of leadership is still really important.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's something that AI just can't replicate, at least not yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to need human leaders for a long time to come, even with all the advancements in AI.
I think so too. It's just that the role of the human leader is going to continue to change and adapt as AI becomes more sophisticated.
Right. Well, on that note, I think that's a great place to take a quick break.
Oh, okay.
We'll be right back after this.
And another thing that's really shaking things up in the leadership world?
What's that?
Remote work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's totally challenging this whole idea that leaders need to be physically present to be effective.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Even before the pandemic, remote work was on the rise.
Right.
But now it's like exploded.
It's everywhere. And you've got companies like GitLab.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
They're fully remote. No central headquarters or anything.
Wow, so they're proving it can be done?
Exactly. And they're doing incredibly well.
Yeah. So how does leadership even work in that kind of environment?
Well, it's all about building trust, fostering connection virtually. It's less about like looking over people's shoulders and more about creating a shared purpose.
So like more autonomy.
Exactly. Empowering teams to excel no matter where they are.
So what are some of the key skills that leaders need to have in this remote first world?
Well, obviously, communication is huge.
Right.
You got to be able to communicate clearly and effectively through all these digital channels.
Yeah. Emails, video calls, all that stuff.
Exactly. And then you also need to be really good at building a strong virtual culture.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like how do you create a sense of community and belonging when everyone's scattered all over the place?
Right. That's a tough one.
It is, but it's essential. And then maybe the most important thing is trust.
Trust. Gotta trust your people.
You got to trust your teams to get the job done without needing constant supervision.
So it's like a whole different way of managing people.
It really is. The whole manager-employee dynamic is changing.
So what's it becoming then?
More collaborative.
Okay.
More outcome-oriented leaders are less like managers and more like strategists.
Strategist. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. They're focused on setting the vision, nurturing the culture, and then getting out of the way and letting their teams do their thing.
So where do you see all of this going? Like, what's the future of leadership in all of this?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot more of these hybrid models where you have AI handling some of the data-driven tasks,
Oh, okay.
freeing up human leaders to focus on the stuff they're really good at.
Like what kind of stuff?
Building relationships, fostering innovation, inspiring their teams.
So it's like a partnership almost.
Yeah, exactly. AI and humans working together, each playing to their strengths.
Interesting. But here's a kind of a wild thought.
Okay, what is it?
What if the leaders of the future come from like a totally unexpected place?
Like where?
Like social media influencers.
Oh, wow.
I mean, think about it. You've got people like Elon Musk, Mr. Beast, Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay.
They have huge followings. They know how to grab people's attention.
Yeah, they're definitely influential.
And they build these communities based on trust.
That's true. I never thought about it like that.
So are we saying influencers could actually become CEOs?
Well, leadership is all about influence, right?
Yeah.
And these folks have it in spades. They know how to craft a narrative, inspire action, create a sense of shared purpose.
Right.
That's all stuff that could translate to the business world.
Yeah. So maybe those skills are going to be even more important for future leaders.
It's definitely possible. I mean, the lines between traditional leadership and digital influence are getting blurrier all the time.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to think about.
It is. But that's the thing about the future of leadership. It's unpredictable.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
All right, well, that was a lot to take in.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground there.
From AI to remote work to influencer culture.
But it all comes back to this idea that the future of leadership is all about change.
Right. It's about being adaptable.
Exactly. And with all this change going on, what does it all mean for our listeners out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, what can they do to prepare for all of this?
Well, first of all, don't be afraid of technology. Embrace AI. Learn how to use it to your advantage.
So it's not about being replaced by robots.
No, it's about using AI to make you a better leader.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
But don't forget about those human skills.
Soft skills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Empathy, communication, creativity, all that stuff is going to be even more important in a world where AI is doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Because leadership is still about people, right?
Always has been, always will be.
Yeah. So connect with your team, understand what makes them tick, create a shared vision that everyone can get behind.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And finally,
Be adaptable.
right, that's like the key takeaway here.
The world is changing faster than ever before.
Yeah, no kidding.
And the most successful leaders are going to be the ones that can roll with the punches.
So, stay curious, stay flexible, never stop learning.
Exactly.
Great advice. So, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's flip the script a little bit.
Okay.
We were talking about how social media influencers could be the future CEOs,
Right.
but what if it's the other way around? What do you mean?
What if these skills that make a great CEO today,
Okay.
that vision, that communication,
Yeah.
that ability to inspire,
Yeah.
what if those are the very things we need from our leaders in a world that's increasingly shaped by AI?
Wow, that's a really interesting thought.
Right, like maybe the future of leadership isn't about becoming more like machines.
But more human.
Exactly. More empathetic, more connected, more focused on the things that make us well.
I love that.
So maybe that's something for everyone to think about as we continue this conversation about
Yeah.
the future of leadership.
Yeah, it really makes you think, Like maybe instead of trying to keep up with the machines, we should be focusing on what makes us different from them.
Right, exactly. And I think that's a really important message for leaders to hear right now.
Definitely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I mean, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have AI, remote work influencer culture.
Yeah.
It's been a whirlwind.
But I think it all points to a future where leadership is less about like top-down control and more about things like empowerment, adaptability, and human connection. Absolutely. Those are going to be the key ingredients for success in the years to come.
For sure. So for our listeners out there, what are some of the key takeaways? What can they do to prepare for this new world of leadership?
Well, I think the first thing is to really embrace technology, especially AI. Don't be afraid of it.
Right.
Think of it as a tool that can help you make better decisions and free up your time to focus on the human side of leadership.
So don't try to compete with the robots.
Exactly. Work with them.
And speaking of the human side of things, those soft skills are more important than ever.
Couldn't agree more. Empathy, communication, creativity, those are the things that AI can't replicate.
Yeah, those are going to be your superpowers in the future.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll say is be adaptable. The world is changing so fast.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So you got to be willing to learn, unlearn, relearn, stay curious, stay flexible, never stop growing.
Awesome advice. So to sum it all up, the future of leadership is both exciting and a little bit daunting.
It is. There are a lot of challenges ahead, but also a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. And I think the key is to embrace technology, but never lose sight of our humanity.
Well said.
It's about finding that balance between data-driven insights and human intuition.
Leading with both our heads and our hearts.
Exactly. And recognizing that the qualities that make us human, empathy, vision, the ability to inspire those are the qualities that will shape the future of leadership.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
And be sure to tune in next time for another fascinating discussion.